Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Yo, check it out. P. Diddy was taken to the hospital under the cover of darkness. Sit back, listen to this. I'm going to break this down and give you intricate details. They got a man coming up here that was a correction officer and a warden or something like that at MDC, and they bragging about how he was the warden at MDC. Well, I was an inmate at MDC, and I'm going to tell you what the trip was really like and how this whole process is really going on from an inmate's point of view. Because I checked out Law and Crime and all that and love it, but, you know, they telling it from a correction officer's point of view, but this is a gangster channel. So sit back and see how P. Diddy was taken to the hospital, understand how this thing really play out. But before we go any further, make sure you subscribe to my daughter's YouTube channel at Juanita Mecca Audio, Juanita Mecca Audio, and Unique Mecca Audio Prison Stories at YouTube, and Mecca Audio TV at YouTube, and just be a part of the Mecca family, and let's keep it moving. Alright, you know how we do. All right, you know what it is. Unique Mecca Audio, man. I'm over here. We're going to talk about P. Diddy. We're going to show you how this thing play out. We're going to let them break it down. But remember, subscribe to my daughter's YouTube channel at Juanita Mecca Audio, Juanita. All right, let's get this program started, man.
Quick recap of how we got here. In September of last year, Diddy was indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Those charges came down after multiple civil suits against Diddy were already filed, accusing him of facilitating a decades-long sex trafficking ring. Post-arrest, the civil lawsuits just keep on coming. Right now, we're actually at more than 40 filed against Diddy. There's an eerie pattern shown throughout all of these civil suits and the criminal ones too, that Diddy or his associates would drug the victims, rape them as part of what he called freak-offs, and recorded it. He then used that recording as blackmail to force the survivors to keep quiet. But let's just keep in mind, all of this is alleged at this point. Diddy has already pleaded not guilty to his federal charges. But just last week, we actually got some new info about those charges in a superseding indictment. To start with the very basics, the feds now say Diddy's alleged sex trafficking scheme dates back to 2004, whereas in the original indictment, it listed 2008. Here's what it says, quote, "From at least in or about 2004, through in or about 2024, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy, PD, Love, the defendant, and others, known and unknown, were members and associates of a criminal organization, the Combs Enterprise, or the Enterprise."
Yo, he was the leader of a criminal enterprise for getting coochie. You see what is going on here? He was the leader of a criminal enterprise to getting coochie. Let's get back to this, man. This is just too much, man.
Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice.
See, what they're doing is they're pushing the limit on where they could go with the RICO, because you can manipulate anything to fool the people, you know, from the push of a button, you know, and that's what they're doing. They're pushing buttons right now.
This new indictment also ups the number of victims. At first, only one victim was listed in the indictment, which some believe is Diddy's ex-girlfriend and the first person to file civil suit against him, Cassandra Ventura. An updated portion of the superseding indictment reads, quote, "Combs and other members and associates of the Combs Enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs' role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit.
So basically what they saying is that Diddy used the company to say, I'm the bad boy that own bad boys, so you do what I say or else. You know what I mean? That he used the company to, to force or, coerce these people into doing these X acts. All right?
often under the pretense of a romantic relationship.
And
Combs
claiming to
then
be in
used
love.
force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims, including but not limited to 3 female victims, victim 1, victim 2, and victim 3.
That sound like scorned lovers to me, right? Because bottom line is what they did, right? They went out and got Diddy's ex-girlfriends, you know, that's disgruntled that he stopped giving them the allowance. Diddy, you violated when you gave them allowance. They're not used to allowance. Their parents didn't give them allowance. How the hell are you going to come in and give them allowance? What is wrong with you? Because you got it, I know you want to be nice, but there was so many thorough dudes you could have looked out for that wouldn't have sat there and went to the grand jury on you and had you in the position that you're in now and be airing you out on YouTube. But for some reason, when y'all get the bag, what the problem is, you find the weakest person with the biggest story because you don't want the realest person, with the realest story. Because you don't feel or you can't control the realest person. But, you know what I mean? It is what it is, man. Let's play it out. This is just pathetic.
To engage in commercial sex acts. The new indictment got a bit more specific in all of this too, doubling down on the allegations that Diddy took victims across state lines and sometimes even internationally to sexually assault and record them. The feds explained all of this too, writing, quote, Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in freak-offs and other commercial sex acts.
Oh, he verbally abused them. You stinking no good. Get on your knees and boop, boop, boop. And you had to do it? I don't know. I'm just trying to get an answer for this and just trying to get y'all to, speak on things to create content. But you tell me, how does that go? Here you go, girl, selling coochie, as they say, and she gets her feelings hurt because, somebody tells her to get in a certain position. And she's selling coochie, is what they're saying. Yo, this is going to be so much fun, covering right here.
Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promises of career and financial opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's appearance, monitoring their medical records, controlling their housing, and supplying them with controlled substances.
See, so bottom line, what they're saying is that Diddy basically took care of them, did everything for them, and, he did this in order for them to do whatever it is that they're accusing him of them doing, So it's like, a barter. What they say in the hood, because it's a gangster channel. Fair exchange ain't no robbery. I pay your rent, I pay your bills, I do this, I do that. You understand? And you do this, you do that, you do this, and you do that. You agree to that contract, I pay your bills and do what I'm supposed to do. Then you do what you're supposed to do. But then here it is years later, they got laws that you could come out and you could renege on the contract and throw the man under the bus as long as it was an opposite gender. Welcome to America, So, this is where we at. Not downplaying it, not picking sides. Just want y'all to see the real and understand the real for what it is, because this is a real channel and we deal with real facts here. All right, bottom line. You're in a relationship, you agreed to something 30 years ago, and then here it is now. You didn't really want to agree to it, or as you grew older mentally, you realized you were stupid for agreeing to it. And then here you go now with your stupid ass backing up and say, I could go into the middle section, generate Mac in New York City with a plug, expires a month. Yeah, let me call Tony Busby. Let me call Mr. Blackburn. They got lawyers for this. And this is how this all plays out. But it's whoever writes the best script in the court is who's gonna sell the story the best to the jury, man. Let's get it moving.
During and separate from freak-offs and other commercial sex acts, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair.
Okay, hold up, pause. I know y'all gonna get me for this one, so I'm gonna hit the gunshots. Y'all gonna get me for this one, yo. Yo, back in the days, right? You females from back in the days, right? If you want to keep it 100, how many of y'all either knew someone or you yourselves was being smacked, kicked, and dragged by the hair? And that's where we had to come out and defend you as your brother and your family and your homies and everything else. This is a part of the twisted mentality that we have that caused this type of madness where now they're bringing our twisted mentality that they instilled with us by the music, the entertainment, the movies, the videos, the arcade games, the PlayStations, and everything that they're giving to us to let us see, and that drags us into this, twisted way of thinking. Where back then, that was the norm. Oh yeah, Kenny whooped such and such ass the other night. You know what I mean? What would she do? I don't know. She got out. And that was the end of it. But nowadays, oh, you could never say it like that. That's what I said. Let me hit the gunshots. Because I know the rat bastards and flip-flop wearing in public trolls is coming at me for that one, but I'm just keeping it real. That's why I like the dude Charleston White. Big round of applause to Charleston White. Big round of applause to Charleston White. Big round of applause to Charleston White. I watch Charleston White. Charleston White said everything that I want to say, but I'm trying to, work with the youth. You know what I mean? He says, everything that he says is majority of it is factual because he's seen it all. He just says it raw and to the point, and it like shocks the world. Like, how the heck is he gonna sit there and say something like that? But that's Charleston White. Love him to death, right? He said something about, ain't you never had no freaky aunt or an uncle that they go in the bathroom and they tear it up and boom, 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 and they arguing and fighting, and then they go in the bathroom and make up and make love while they're at the family picnic. They arguing in front of everybody. They scratch each other's eyes out, and then they go in the corner room and they go get their freak on, but that's their little, twisted mentality in order to get right. So that's what Diddy's basically accusing Cassie of, saying we had a twisted sex life, and that's what it was. And now she's trying to make it into something that I just don't get it. Let's play the rest of this, man.
These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. Following the assaults, Combs, with the assistance of members and associates of the enterprise, frequently worked to conceal his misconduct by offering to provide medical assistance or other financial benefits to the victims. A different part of the indictment reads, quote, when employees, witnesses to his abuse, or others threatened Combs' authority or reputation, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise engaged in acts of violence, threats of financial and reputational harm, and verbal abuse.
All right, so somebody do something to right. Somebody do something to violate you or violate your bag, and you go off and you cuss them out. And I'm just asking the question. I'm picking sides because I know you rat bastards looking for something to make it sound like I'm picking sides. But you working somewhere, somebody screw up a big deal, and you cuss them out. And I'm even gonna get to the point. You call them, you even say you're scumbag. We know you ain't supposed to use those words, but you just get mad and you cuss them out. Do you deserve to lose your company behind that? Should that be a criminal charge that bring you up in a criminal court because you cussed out somebody at the job? I'm just asking the question, man. You know what I mean? If you own a company and you get pissed at dude because he messed up thousands of dollars and you cuss him aside, you goddamn, you moron. What is wrong with you? Get your black ass over there. As a matter of fact, go take 2 days off. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm going to pay you. But just get out my sight for 2 days. And you treat him good. But, this is the relationship. Do you think that should be brought up in a court of law? Let's keep this thing moving.
These acts of violence included arson and multiple acts of kidnapping, including one instance of kidnapping during which Combs carried and displayed a firearm. In addition, on multiple occasions, Combs threw both objects and people, as well as hit, dragged, choked, and shoved others. On one occasion, Combs dangled a victim over an apartment balcony.
Hold up, they making P. Diddy sound like Suge Knight, ain't they? Didn't they say Suge Knight hung that dude, the white boy, what's his name, Vanilla Ice? Didn't they say that Suge Knight hung Vanilla Ice over the balcony in order to get the royalties from Ice Ice Baby or something? And now they saying Diddy hung somebody over You don't see the pattern that they're using, and we're sitting here pushing it, moving forward. Let the man have his day in court is all I'm saying. But now P. Diddy sound like shooting at Austin kidnapping. Whoop, 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 whoop. I'm like, whoa, this ain't the Diddy that I know wearing the shiny pants with Mace talking about, more money, more problems with Biggie. This ain't that Diddy. This is crazy, but let's listen to old Killer Diddy's indictment. Listen how they done turned a mogul into a cold criminal, And the crazy part is we accepted it subliminally all because and that's a shame.
Here's where we've got to insert a statement from Diddy's team, specifically his attorney Mark Agnifilo. He told the Associated Press, quote, "The government has added the ridiculous theory that two of Mr. Combs' former girlfriends were not girlfriends at all, but were prostitutes." The indictment was filed on January 30th. Coincidentally, according to the New York Post, that's the same day P. Diddy was taken to a Brooklyn hospital from MDC.
All right, so bottom line is he's saying, like, come on with the crap, man. This is Diddy's girlfriend. They scorned lovers like R. Kelly said. Oh, damn, I shouldn't have said R. Kelly. You see where he at. But anyway, we just having fun. This is the Mecca. Now, he done screwed up. Let's get back to this tape. This is great.
MDC is the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. It's where Diddy's been held since his arrest back in September. His team has tried multiple times for bail, but it's always been denied. So that's where Diddy has been for months now, but last week he was taken to the hospital. According to reports from the New York Post, Diddy was transported from MDC in the cover of darkness at about 10 p.m. on January 30th. He was taken to a Brooklyn hospital for an MRI after reporting issues with his knee. This actually isn't the first time we've heard about Diddy's knee either. He's apparently had problems with it since 2003 when he ran the New York Marathon. He even had multiple knee surgeries back in 2017. In a now deleted Instagram post, Diddy shared this photo and wrote, quote, "Just had my final knee surgery. They said I'd never run again. I said the devil is a liar, 2 exclamation points. 3 surgeries in 1 year. 3rd time's a charm, 3 exclamation points. Hashtag rebirth. Don't take the simple things in life for granted. Thank you to all the surgeons and docs and PTs. I thank God for y'all. And hashtag team love, hashtag thank you, hashtag God is the greatest."
Yo, do you see the way they had him sitting in the bed with the teddy bear? It puts you in the frame of mind. They give you this subliminal message. Let me point this picture out to you because we ride. They give you the subliminal picture like Diddy was just taken to the hospital. He's in a hospital bed. He's doing good. He's still back to old Diddy. He even got a big old teddy bear with him. Let's get it right. Diddy is handcuffed right now. When he went out to that hospital, they handcuffed him to a bed. They keep the handcuffs and shackles on you at all times. So let's get to the real what Diddy went through. They making it sound like it was so glamorous. He just took a trip to the hospital. No. First thing they do, because we riding. Diddy's a high-profile person, so they want to make sure less people is there or not, so they're going to go after 11 o'clock at night after the shift change. They making it sound, you're going to hear in this video, I might even fast forward past that crap. They making it sound like it's so extraordinary to go 1 o'clock in the morning. I went to the hospital, when I got hit in the head with a lock. When a dude bust me in the head, boop, and I always say, big round of applause to do that bust me in the head with a lock, because I totally violated it. Big round of applause. Big round of applause. Gunshots, gunshots, gunshots to the dude that bust me in the head with the lock. But that's how real we have to keep it. We all make mistakes, you know what I mean? Because we all have what we call, feelings and emotions, but we have to learn how to control them to the best of our ability to make sure that we're always on point and no one else pulls the strings to your feelings and emotions. So if someone else could pull you out your feelings and emotions to make you react in a violent manner, that means that something is not right with you. Because we know that women is controlled by their feelings and emotions, but men is covered and governed by their instincts and desire to survive. That's it. All I care about is my instincts to survive. Meaning if somebody walking up with a mask on, I don't care if it's middle of the pandemic that they call the letters with the C, the V and all that, right? If somebody walking up with a mask, I'm reaching. You understand? I'm looking in my rear view mirror. Call it what you want to call it, but that's my instincts to survive. And that's what I'm governed by. That's what I move by. So that's why more times I might get with a female and I'm talking to a female and they think, oh, you don't call, you don't this, you don't that. No, because my instinct is to survive. And calling you is not a part of that survival. Needing you when it's time for release as a warrior is a time of your need. Until then, fall back. I'm in the battlefield. I'm doing what I'm doing. I got to get the bag. I got to get the bag. And while I'm making these moves, you understand? I'm not thinking about cuddling. I'm not thinking about calling. My mother, I walk in the door. My mother, 89 years old, love her to death. I walk in the door and she got her lips twisted to the side. And I'm like, what's the matter? You had a stroke? And she looked at me. And I'm like, what is you mad at? She said, you didn't call me the whole time you was out. I said, Mommy, you raised a warrior. Don't get mad now that you 90 and emotional and trying to get me to show something that you told me to stay in control of. So I stayed in control and I refrained from calling you because I was on the battlefield. And you tell me every time before I leave the house, be careful. This is what's going on. So you understand, it's real. But them trying to twist it like, oh, they took him out after 9, they made it like it's just such a wonderful trip. No, I talked to my mother when I came back from the hospital, and I told her, yeah, Mommy, the shackles was a little tight, but, I just, stretched my legs a little less further to take the pressure off the shackles hitting my ankle and scraping me up and drawing blood like the first time I had to learn to walk in these shackles, and these Europeans is telling me, hurry up, boy. Let me tell you one ride. I know this about Diddy, but we ride. This way we ride at the Mecca. I get to Oklahoma, right? They fly me from Lewisburg to Oklahoma after I had the ride where I was allegedly stabbed. 2 police started the ride, started a fan with a cue balls, shooting out one pop, shooting out big ass cue balls out of a big electrical fan is what they, charged me with allegedly, right? So now they sending me to ADX. So they shoot me to Oklahoma. When I get to Oklahoma, as soon as I get off the plane, right, the plane pulls up on a big building. It looks like a regular office building. But when it pulls up, this tarmac comes out and sucks onto the plane. We walks off the plane, down the tarmac, and right into a building that's like an office building that they converted into a prison, man. They converted this building into a prison. So I'm walking in the office building, and they got cells and cages everywhere. And then they got this little box you got to stand up on. And when you go down there, you got like 300 dudes coming off the plane, however big the plane is. So when you come down, you got to go stand on the box, take off your shackles, take off the handcuffs, and then they give all the handcuffs after they count them back to the people on the plane, so they accounted for their handcuffs. So when you go down there, I stood up on a joint, and dude took my left leg off, my left shackle key, whoop, unlocked it. You know what I mean? I stood there, and I'm just glad to have the pressure released off my ankle, for it was so tight. I didn't know, and they didn't lock it. So when I walk, it got tighter and tighter, and would scrape my skin, and they wouldn't even touch it because they said once we're in flight, we don't do nothing. So now we sitting there, and dude taps my left ankle. And when he tapped my left ankle, I picked my left leg up off this little wooden block that they had me standing on like I was on a slave block. And he tapped my left ankle. And when I picked it up a little bit, instincts, right? When I picked it up due to the instinct, can you believe this man actually, right? Check this out. He said, "That a boy." He tapped me on my ankle. I picked it up and he said, "That a boy." And spit out a big glob of tobacco on the floor. Spit, slime everywhere, and I'm looking at it. And I just took that left leg and I tried to, let me hold up. We don't want to get into promoting violence, but, let's just say it didn't end well, They beat the crap out of me. I lost the fight, but I won the battle because I was in the fight, but they whooped the crap out of me. I mean, they beat me so bad, man, I was dizzy for 3 days. But, they round of applause to the, correcting officers that whooped me in Oklahoma. Round of applause. All right, relax. Let me get back to Diddy, because I get into my little rides and it's just all over the place. But hold on, man, hold on.
He also wrote, quote, "God puts us all through things for a reason. It's up to us to learn through the things that he puts us through. Sometimes you have to go through the pain to get to the joy. This journey has brought me closer to God, closer to my family, and most importantly, closer to myself, as this has been God's will. So apparently Diddy's knee has been bothering him recently, so he reported it. At some point, it was decided that he needed medical care outside of the jail, so he was taken to a Brooklyn hospital. He was only gone for a couple of hours and came straight back to MDC after his MRI was finished. Diddy's attorney Mark Agnifilo told TMZ, quote, "I cannot comment on anything related to prisoner movements. Also, I'm not commenting on anything related to possible medical issues." A statement from the Federal Bureau of Prisons was released too. It says, quote, "For privacy, safety, and security reasons, we do not comment on the conditions of confinement for anyone in our custody, to include medical status or medical trips." Well, the Federal Bureau of Prisons may not be able to comment on all of this, but I do know someone who can. I'm going to bring in Dr. Dwayne Hendricks, a former corrections officer and deputy warden right there at MDC. Dwayne, thanks for coming on with us once again. You're a friend of the show and give us a great interview every time. And what I wanted to ask you about today is Diddy leaving MDC to go to the hospital. Is this a big undertaking?
All right, so before we go, this is unique. Make audio. He served 26 years in federal prison. He went through MDC a total of 4 times, and I'm going to speak from an inmate's point of view as this, ex-correction officer, whatever he was. Anyway, whatever he was, right? He's going to speak from his point of view. Let's get this popping.
Not necessarily. Only in the format that it happened with him leaving later in the evening. Typically, inmates are given a physical within the first 14 days of their arrival, and if there's anything that indicates that needs immediate follow-up, the medical team there will follow up immediately. However, if there's some procedures or some sort of medical processes that they need to go through that are not available at the institution, or they can't bring someone in like a specialist to come in to do to perform that medical process at the institution, they will schedule medical trips on a monthly basis, and there's a review team that goes over those trips every month. And but this particular process was a little bit different because, as you know, most doctors' offices and most folks that do MRIs and X-rays and things of that nature, they're on a normal work schedule, between, the normal business hours of maybe 10 o'clock and maybe 6 p.m. So in that case, this was a little bit different, getting him outside the facility in the late evening hours to do just, possibly a basic MRI.
All right. See, that's a bunch of crap, right? That's a bunch of crap. That's the norm. All this he's saying, that's the norm. Listen, I was what they call the CIMs, Central Inmate Monitor, right? It was called SIMS, CIMS, Central Inmate Monitoring System, the proper name for it. So that means anytime they had to move me, they had to notify Washington, D.C. before they could move me. So they have what they call regions, right? Because we ride. They got what they call regions, right? Like Pennsylvania is the Northeast region, Dublin is, the South region for California. You got a problem with the feds, you write the region there, and then from there it goes to Washington, D.C. But it's a region for everywhere you was at, right? So now, this is bull crap because while I was on the Sims monitoring system, anytime they moved me late at night like that. They woke me up like 1 o'clock in the morning, took me down to a cell, and after the 3 o'clock count, I was in the van with a bunch of police cars behind me headed to a hospital because I was a central inmate monitor. You know what I mean? Meaning they needed to monitor me. That's what Diddy's under. He's under nothing different than what any other inmate is under. So Diddy's under what they call a SIMS. CIMS, Central Inmate Monitoring Service, is what Diddy is under right now. So anyway he move, they have him down as armed, extremely dangerous, violent, you know what I mean? Take extra precaution and make sure you put what they call the black box. Y'all that been incarcerated know about the black box. The black box keep your hand like this with a box in between so you can't do nothing but this with your wrist. You can't even use your hands to do nothing. You sitting there for, 3 hours on a flight, from Pennsylvania to Oklahoma, because they always stop in Oklahoma first, and then they reload and put you on whatever plane or wherever you're going, because the fuel ain't going to take them all the way there. But You know, Diddy's a central inmate monitor, so them take him out 1 o'clock in the morning. It's nothing different. They did it to me. I done went out, when I had prostate issues and things like that. You know what I mean? You go in and it's a ride. Even if it's 1 in the morning. Picture them taking Diddy through the hospital between the work hours of 9 to 5, and Diddy's on a gurney or he's in a wheelchair and he's strapped in and they push him through the joint. Everybody got their cell phones. Come on, dog. Yo, they trying to get us to really get some content and money, huh? If they think the feds is gonna do that, so they moving 1 in the morning when there's less people. You know what I mean? They may even put a bag over his face. You know what I mean? Diddy, you know how somebody gonna come out accusing you of putting a bag over the face because it was just too ugly with holes cut in it. So you ain't had to look at them. You just had to feel what they feel like. But let's get this going, man. They might have put a bag over Diddy's head to take him out at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I was thinking about the timeline too because I don't ever recall going to the doctor at 10 p.m. at night. As you said, it's usually 9 to 5, 10 to 6 kind of vibes.
But you're not a central inmate monitor. Stop it, please.
But for P. Diddy,
She's comparing herself to Diddy's situation while he's in the feds for and rejected bail for allegedly being a danger to the community and trying to contact witnesses to bring them harm, and you're comparing that man to you. Stop it. It don't work that way.
I can kind of understand why it was at 10 p.m. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking they decided to do this because he's such a high profile name that they wouldn't want to draw attention to it. I mean, this is an unassuming Thursday night around 10 p.m. Could that be why they decided then to go to the hospital?
Yes, and also, for a couple of reasons, staff. Many correctional agencies are short-staffed, so you're taking someone out with this high-profile person such as P. Diddy. Just the nature of who he is going to cause a serious security concern because you're going to need to be able to stave off, onlookers, fans, media, and the like. And then you also got to think about the security of the hospital and their operations. People there to try to get better. You have families there to visit their loved ones. And the last thing you need is somewhat, a chaotic environment that's causing concern with security. And also, just, most people don't know this, but he's actually under the primary custody. He's a U.S., what we call U.S. Marshals inmate because he's on pretrial status. So the bureau, the agency, the Bureau of Prisons oversees, the operations with seeing the inmates, overseeing the inmates on a day-to-day basis. However, when they're in the hospital for an extended period of time, if there's no deal worked out between the local institution and the local marshal's office, it would be the marshal's responsibility to take custody of that particular inmate. So, but back to your original question, yes, he is definitely taken out at that time, and I'm sure this arrangement was made weeks in advance to make sure that that technician or that clinician was going to be available to take a look at whatever issues that he may be experiencing right now. So that way, there's not a whole lot of onlookers, and then even with staff and other inmates, it gives them not an opportunity to make a call, to their family. Hey, I think Diddy's going out to the hospital right now. If anybody wants to take a look at him, head out there. And then I think the other thing, Sierra, is since there are no cameras in the courthouse throughout this process, we've only been getting the sketch artist views of their perspective of what he looks like. And I think people have been talking about him losing weight and different things of that nature. So I know folks will probably want to be able to get a photo of him to see what he actually looks like. And if he does have issues with his legs, is he walking with a limp? Does he have a cat? Does he have a cane or anything like that? So yeah, I think that will be the reason why that they would make this take this measure, which I have never seen in my career. Someone taken out to the hospital at this time of night for something as basic as an MRI.
Man, that's bull crap. It's straight bull crap. Like I said, every time I went to the hospital with middle in the wee hours of the night, because I'm a central inmate monitor. That's not nothing big. That's nothing. Come on, man. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it, man. These are the games they play with y'all. I was an inmate and I went to the hospital 1 in the morning because I was a central inmate monitoring, meaning I was a danger to the community, so they made sure it was less of the community out there when they released me out in the public, like if I was Hannibal Lecter. And that's the way they treat you, and that's what it is. So don't y'all get involved with crime and thinking it's gonna be sweet, cause they treat you like a straight animal. When they walk you, tell everybody get back, get back, get back, get back, and you sitting there like you got the plague, and you in a wheelchair, handcuffed and shackled with a little hospital gown covered in the front of you, and you looking like whoa, you know? I mean, how more degrading can you get than that? Let's keep this moving.
Oh, that's interesting that this is the first time you've ever seen anything like this because there have been high profile inmates at MDC in the past, maybe not to the level of P. Diddy. You had a lot of answers in that one answer, so many different roads I could go down. And I agree with you 100%. People would want that photo. We would be talking about that photo today if for some reason we got it. So that's a super valid point.
Exactly.
I wanted to go back to the very beginning though, because how does all of this start? Does P. Diddy go to one of the corrections officers and say, hey, my knee's really bothering me, I'm not feeling well? Would he go to an infirmary on site? What would the early process look like?
So again, after that initial review of his current medical situation during his physical, and then there's follow up to that process if there's something found, immediately. But you have to understand, daily there are medical staff walking through the units, doing what we call sit call and asking inmates, are they okay? And then you have folks that are walking around passing out meds and different things of that nature. And then he can also reach out to the medical team by what we call an inmate to staff correspondence form, whether electronically or in writing. And he can say, hey, I've had chronic issues with my knee for several years. And I'm seeing there's reports that after he ran New York City Marathon in 2003, that he had some ongoing issues with one of his knees. So that's how that initial process would start. And then and if it's nothing like emergent, because again, if his knee was bothering him to the point where he fell out or something like that in the evening, then obviously they would take him to the hospital right away. It wouldn't be a thing where they would schedule that out. But in terms of something that basic, uh, that would have to be looked at well in advance, and then they would make that appointment, and then reach out to the hospital staff and say, hey, you know, can you get someone that can, one, keep their mouth shut, that's going to be on schedule to work overtime or switch their schedule to do this particular procedure? Can they keep their mouth shut and not expose that, hey, we're going to bring him out into the community for a couple of hours to do this process? So there had to be some high level planning, not just at the local institution and local hospital, but obviously probably at the regional office level and maybe even at the DOJ level, saying that, hey, this individual is going to be going out for a short period of time to make sure that they're taking care of these issues that he may or may not be having with his knee.
Yeah, the
All right, so you see all that, right? They had me mesmerized with all this crap they were saying. Bottom line is, they got a sick call. Sick call walk through every morning. They come through at 4 o'clock in the morning when they know for a fact you sleep. So they come through and they ask you, sick call, sick call, sick call. And they walking down the tears so fast, by the time you even heard them and tried to get up out of the bed, right? They're already down the end of the tier and coming back up the other way. And then you bang on the door, you calling them, they act like you don't hear them. You banging, boom, 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 sick call, sick call. And they right there on the tier, they keep going. You got to call them all kinds of biatches and everything else. You know what I mean? To cold disrespect them for them to come back to address the disrespect in order to have a conversation to be put on the sick call list. You can't just say, yeah, I want to be on sick call. It don't work that way. They come when they know you sleep. But they come for rec call at 5 o'clock in the morning. They walking through when the person in his second dose of sleep, he comes and he goes, rec, you want to go to rec? Anybody want to go to rec? Anybody want to go to rec? And he's whispering and going down a tear. While he whispering and going down a tear, nobody can even hear him. He just throw the cover over his head when he even think he hears. So it might be a mouse or something running around. This what we thinking in the joint. But they make it like it's all that. But now they don't brought P. Diddy into that world. So Diddy, this is what my world looked like for 26 years. He sent me a few pictures while I was locked up. Gave to my brother's baby mother and my baby mother a job. You know what I mean? So, when he first started Bad Boy. So I don't have any gripes against him, but that don't mean that I'm riding with him. So let's not say that. You know what I mean? But, I do know him personally, and he did send me a few letters while I was in jail. But that don't excuse what he's accused of. If he did any of that, he deserved to be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Let me say that, for the record, but we really don't know people. And this is what it's about. So you got to be careful who you meeting, when you meeting them, why you meeting them, and how you meeting them. Let's keep this thing moving, man. 'Cause I've been on here long enough.
Planning into all of this, based on what you're saying, does sound like it was pretty specific, that they wanted to make sure everything went through smoothly. And I wanted to ask you about the logistics. I know we've talked about this before, transporting Diddy to court, which we've seen him there several times. I mean, at least the sketches. Our reporter there has seen him in real life, but we've seen the sketches. As far as this goes, though, with him going to the hospital, is it different? I mean, would he be in his jumpsuit? Would he have cuffs? Would there be somebody with him at all times, even when he's in the MRI? What would that look like?
What would happen? He would definitely go out in his institutional jumpsuit. He would be handcuffed, leg irons, and what we call a Martin chain, which is the waist, the chains around your waist, handcuffs, and then what we call a black box. That would be a
That's
little
that black
mechanism that would
box.
go over the handcuffs to make sure that he is not moving around necessarily. And I'm almost certain that they probably had 3 or 4 staff with him and even possibly someone in a different vehicle, what we call a chase vehicle, just to make sure that everything is secure and everything is well in that regard. Now, in terms of the X-ray, I'm sure whatever cuffs that would need to be taken off for the X-ray to be done, accurately to do the process. I'm sure if they need to take off a little bit of the handcuffs or the chain or whatever, and depending on where they were going, I don't know if they would necessarily take off the leg irons, but they would make it to where if he would be comfortable enough to make sure the medical procedure is done in the right way, and the staff would be right there with him at all times. No one would definitely not be leaving his side.
Yeah, that's a bunch of bull crap. That's a bunch of bull crap. Bottom line is, when they take you out, man, like I said, they got a chain around your waist. That's the Martin chain he talking about. You got a chain around your waist, and that goes through the handcuffs that's on your wrist. And then they put a black box on your wrist so you can't move your wrist. Like I said, we hate those black box. And the messed up thing is, an inmate created the black box. An inmate created the black box that holds your wrist together like this. Now, why would he do something like that? It's an inmate. While he was an inmate, created the black box and gave it to the government, saying you could secure them like this. Because I'm sure he didn't include himself in that. But anywhere I went, I had that black box. You got the chain, you got the handcuffs. The chain go through the handcuffs, and then you got the black box go down there. And they put a black padlock on the black box, and then they put what he's calling leg irons, shackles. Let's call it what it is. They shackles. So imagine getting pants that's a waist 42 when you a waist 32 and you walking. That's where the sag in the pants came from, if y'all want to really know. But that's because you wasn't allowed to have no belt, no shoestring or nothing. And they gave you whatever pants was available, and you had to walk bow-legged to hold the pants up while you was handcuffed in shackles so they don't fall down and show all your privates. So that's where that come from. Everybody want to have their pants sagging and all that. Know where it came from, right? One of the places. Now, they sitting in there, and they got you shackled, and you trying to walk like a duck with these shackles and this belly chain on with your wrist chained to your belly, and you like this, and he's sitting there smiling like that's so much fun. My dude, I had to live through it. It's no fun at all, and that's why I'm telling you, don't get involved. It's no fun. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it. Let's finish this up, man.
I'm glad that you brought up the handcuffs, because that was my first thought. Metal, MRI, we probably can't put those two together. But as you pointed out, there was probably several different corrections officers or staff with him at the time. So it sounds like that probably went through successfully and he was returned back to MDC. But let's say, for instance, P. Diddy needs another surgery. He's had, I think, 3 so far, and he's been suffering from this knee ailment for about 20 years at this point. You mentioned the New York City Marathon back in 2003. So quite a while he's had this. Let's say that he does need another surgery. What would that look like? Because I know the recovery process for a knee replacement is extensive. When my mom had it, I had to move in with her and help her with day to day things, but that was much different at her house rather than at MDC. So let's just say, speculate, he's going through with this surgery and then he has to go through recovery at MDC. What would that look like?
Well, I mean, inmates have procedures all the time. I mean, you have folks there with cancer, you have folks there with, serious other chronic diseases, and sometimes it does require individuals to have surgery even while they're on pretrial status. So, if he would have to have the surgery, he would have it. He would go through the regular process like any other inmate, and then if the procedure does occur, he would stay in a local hospital or in a treatment facility, obviously with security there with him around the clock. And then when it's deemed that he can come back to the institution, he'd come back. I mean, there are several inmates in these facilities that are on crutches, that are in wheelchairs, and folks that just can't walk. I mean, there are people that actually show up to jail in a wheelchair. And you have other inmates there to assist them to move around the institution or the compound, or in that regard, a jail. But that's how that situation would be if he did need another procedure.
All right, so basically, what they're saying is that you go to the hospital, they bring you back to the jail. If you got a friend, your friend is going to help you as far as with your rehabilitation. If your friend don't help you, you just ass out and you on your own. You know what I mean? And that's the way it is in a prison. That's why I say don't go in there. It ain't worth it. Cut and dry to the point.
It's interesting to think about recovery inside jail, but it sounds like it's pretty common because, as you said, people go on with their lives. They could have issues, and it sounds like that's pretty much covered. So, if that's what happens, you will go through recovery there at MDC. My next question about all of this, too, it gets me thinking to kind of like TV shows or movies. So, correct me, this is like a stereotype. But sometimes we see inmates would purposely get sick or they would conflate their injury or illness because it's fun to leave. They get to go in a vehicle, then they get to spend some time at the hospital. Is this something that ever happens? I mean, would they make sure 100%, okay, P. Diddy really does need his knee checked out, or would they just kind of take his word for it?
Well, what the first thing you described is a person that what we call malingers, people who feign injuries, who are always constantly complaining about something, when the senior staff will make rounds to the unit or to psychological staff or to health services personnel. Um, yeah, I mean, that does happen. However, you got to keep in mind, all persons have to have a physical within those 14 days. And then, by him having chronic knee issues, I mean, obviously they can validate that per se. And then again, it will be a process for them to follow up to schedule those appointments. Because, like you said, some people do want to get a break and just get out of the institution for a little bit, and get away from the day to day noise and just being in a cell or being around other inmates for a while, maybe even eat a little bit different food. But because remember, there was a story about a month or so ago about him just wanting to go because he wasn't feeling well. He had to do meditation to calm down, and they didn't take him out for that. So, and I'm not saying that because I can tell you, we've sent inmates out to the hospital for hangnails or, hurting their pinky playing flag football or basketball in the unit, that kind of thing. But when it comes to individuals with a high profile nature and the security concerns that this particular person will cause, I mean, there's so many different conversations that are happening before a decision is made to take him or someone else high profile in that building out before they did that. So it would be very difficult for him to linger and create a situation where he'll just leave just because he wants to get out for a few minutes. So if they took him out, it was for a reason.
And we have seen in the past, he's posted photos of him on Instagram where he's in the hospital. This is an ongoing thing pre his arrest or any allegations. We did hear about this knee issue. So it does sound like it is a legitimate issue that he's been dealing with for some time. And if that's the case, let's say that he's in super amount of pain. A traditional doctor would probably prescribe some pain medicine like opioids or narcotics, which are pretty, I would say, coveted in jail. You don't want to get those in the wrong hands. So would there be extra eyes on a prescription if he was given something like that to make sure he is the one taking them and no one else has access?
Well, I will tell you, each institution has their own pharmaceutical staff, and those meds are highly protected in that facility. So every shift, there are staff going out, or typically in the morning and the evenings, there are what we call pill line. And let me correct myself. Typically, it depends on what type of meds are on. If they have to take multiple supplements during the day, then they'll give them that. But typically, pill line is in the evening time, and a medical technician is taking those, and everything is counted. So there's not a pill that's not accounted for on a day-to-day basis in those institutions. So, so even if he is given some high-powered or high, whatever narcotic, that staff member is going to administer that to him or to any other inmate to make sure that they're taking it and they're not selling it or using it at a different time or playing games or manipulating the system. So it's a very tight knit process as it relates to medication distribution at these institutions.
All right, so that's where we at, right? So that's what P. Diddy, that's what he's going through. I just want to give you all a breakdown. Remember to subscribe to my daughter's YouTube channel, Juanita Mecca Audio, Juanita, Mecca Audio, Unique Mecca Audio Prison Stories, and Mecca Audio TV. And cop my man Lou Sims' book. We out of here.
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime. Fresh out the can of 26, Heat back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca Audio.